So for the second part of class, I've asked the face-to-face folks to read the abstract by Kanine on acoustic information here. Can anybody kind of share what she was interested in doing and how it's related? Can you figure anything out here? I actually recorded some of the sounds for Cindy Kanine when she was doing this kind of stuff. What did she particularly manipulate in this situation? Does anybody have any thoughts about this? Was it a phoneme identification task? Did I give you a phoneme identification task? Yeah, was it a B or was it a P? What did she do with that? Did she manipulate the voice onset time? What did she manipulate? Look at the first one there. Word, non-word. She had a B versus a P, but what did she do to the P? What was after the P? What was after the P there? What word followed it? It wasn't ugly.
Pretty.
Pretty. So on some of these, she would basically manipulate after that first phoneme. She'd basically put the same ending on both of these words. And in one situation, it would make that stimulus a word, and in another situation, it would make it a non-word. Why do you think she was doing this? What do you think her hypothesis was? If I take the letter P and then it ends with a word, or I have a certain amount of milliseconds of air, how do you think that boundary might change of categorical perception? Well, kind of says it up there. The idea was that if you gave that phoneme up front and you added milliseconds of air on it, if it turned out that what happened after that phoneme formed a word, you'd much more likely categorize that first phoneme as what? What made sense to the word. So the category boundary on the P here, you tend to think things more, the categorical perception would change where you'd hear that first phoneme as a P. Why would you hear it as a P? It's okay, it happens to me a lot. Why was that first phoneme perceived as a P there? Because it makes a word. So what is this actually showing? What is this actually showing on your perception of phonemes? Is it all bottom up?
Top down too.
The word is almost feeding back down to the letter. There's top down going on here. There's top down activation kind of going on here. Because your perception of the individual phoneme is actually influenced by the lexical status of what is coming after it. So it's kind of top-down processing. So once again, do you think this kind of made people think, speech is kind of special here? Yeah, there's, we talked about feature, letter, and word, but now we're actually seeing that what happens after that first phoneme actually changes your perception of the first phoneme. A lot of top-down things going on here as well. Let me just look at this final abstract here. The other thing I wanted to point out here is the graduate student who came after me in the acoustics lab. Guess what his name was for Roman numeral 2A? I left psychoacoustics after my master's on clapping turned out to be not what I wanted to be doing. It was a little more dramatic than that. Guess what student followed me in the late 80s of doing this kind of research? Michael Hall. He actually got his dissertation in the acoustics lab. He did a better project than I did. Actually, you know what I think his dissertation project was? I think he actually had people walking down the hallway and he tried to have people identify the gender based on the walking characteristics, the source characteristics, the old, can you perceive non-speech sounds and kind of get the gesture, get the source on the basis of it. But look when this was actually published. It's not actually out yet, but he's actually doing it, and we can kind of scroll down the screen just a little bit here. And where is he doing it? Does anybody, actually you guys don't know this, it doesn't say it. He's actually doing it just up the road. Michael's actually a professor at James Madison University. So we've had a few conversations because it's been a long time. I mean, we both got our PhDs in the late 80s, early 90s, but he's still doing this, and look what we're looking at here. Categorical perception, you're changing frequencies, onset frequencies, and people are perceiving things. So this is just an example. You don't need to know the details here, but people are still very interested in categorical perception of sounds. It seems to be this makes speech kind of a specialized kind of processing type of thing. Any comments about that? Okay, we'll close out number